So, tell me something terrible.
That poor shoddy yaddy yaddy.
The fourth shot that I'm now putting my elbow in because it tipped over. I can slow-mo replay that. No.
Didn't save it on time.
What are you talking about? It was recording.
No, I mean, you didn't save the shot tipping
It's
over
a shot
on time.
glass. It's not like it falls over slowly. It goes from up to...
Real quick.
Yeah. There's not a lot of height for the gravity to affect it.
No.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah, that's what I did. No, that's what I was going to get. I was going to pick up my phone.
To check the shugs?
No, they're high. I took insulin, don't worry. Was to pull up my notes in case you asked me questions. Then we got on that tangent about that lyric and then about that recording, and then here we are.
Yeah.
Many moons ago.
Yeah, it feels like a half hour ago at least.
Yeah,
So-
that was actually yesterday.
Yes,
Been
a
here.
full 24
We've
hours.
been here that long. Is this all staying in?
Yeah, sure,
Sure.
some of it. Why not?
Okay, you should
Okay.
introduce us then.
All right, hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi. I'm Scott.
You're listening to Tell Me Something Terrible.
Yeah, you are.
Scott got drunk last night, and now he's...
I resisted getting drunk tonight until about
Didn't happen.
8 minutes ago. Then I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, we can just...
I can just do like just a little bit of vodka.
Line up those vodka
and
shots.
Rain, and he just did 4 shots.
I did 3, and then the 4th was lined up for I was going to save for 20 minutes from now, and then my headphones tipped it over. And
Your headphones, not your elbow.
it was a combination of things.
Just a series
was
of unfortunate events.
the most
a
unfor-
comedy of errors.
Yes, I am
your
Limity
favorite.
Snicketer. What is that? Is that Limity Snickets?
Yeah. Mhm.
Is it? Mm-hmm. I've never seen that movie. Have you?
No, it has Jim Carrey in it though.
It is Jim Carrey.
I think I read the
In my
first
brain- in my
I
brain,
read the first 3 or 4 chapters of the very first one, and that was all I got into it.
In my brain, I thought it was Johnny Depp, but I'm like, no. As soon as you said Jim Carrey, I was like, it is Jim Carrey.
Yeah, no, I was slightly
I
too
just
old
I
to
just
get
had
on
pictured
that.
the Mad Hatter. Don't look at yourself in the
I
camera.
have to check my hair because it's in the opposite direction, and I've got
Crazy hair?
Yeah.
Do you want to borrow my hat?
no.
I have crazy hair too. Hence the hat in our
Yeah.
house is drafty.
I also would look like a man if I put on a hat, so I need to have some hair, so I at least look like a little bit like a lady.
This hat does make me look like a man, so I get that.
The confusion.
Or a Keebler elf.
Yeah.
Kind of a toss-up.
Good thing you're
Anywho.
not any shorter.
Anywho, this is our first, not really our first, this is an actual themed episode. I know what this one is about. Mm-hmm. I was told to be prepared for a Q&A.
Yep. So
With your local, as close to an expert as I'm ever going to come in a topic.
yeah, so last week we did the Valentine's Day massacre. So cuddle up. Hopefully you cuddled up and listened to that with your loved one.
This is coming out
True
Tuesday.
crime.
Isn't Monday Valentine's Day?
Yes.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy
Everyone should be in a
Valentine's
good
Day.
mood. You may have gotten laid finally last night. I don't know how often you all have whatever with whoever, but good for you.
Yep.
Or not. Whatever.
Yeah, and if not, who cares?
Yeah.
Valentine's Day is a joke anyway.
It is. But the best part is, have we ever bought cards for each other?
Not once.
No, we did.
You bought me cards for Mother's Day.
When you were pregnant or right after we had Lil. That's right.
Yeah,
like
you
one
did?
Mother's Day card.
Yeah. He bought me when I was I literally found out it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks
Yeah,
later
we found
after
out
we
like
found
March
out.
or whatever. When's Mother's Day? May? Yeah, because
Yeah, it was in May.
Because I was in the hospital when I got diagnosed with diabetes on Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah.
That
so
was
May.
the day I went into the hospital.
Oh, happy Mother's Day to Karen.
So I only know it's in May because of that.
Yeah.
It's my diabetic anniversary.
we don't
Mother's Day.
celebrate any of those stupid holidays that require buying chocolates and commercialized bullshit.
Well, and I kind of, Mother's Day for me is not ooh, it's my, this year will be my whatever. What's my 18th anniversary, 18th anniversary of diabetes this Mother's Day. Woo!
It's so exciting.
Yeah, let's go get some
Chocolate.
beef jerky. Or vodka. Both have the same amount of carbs.
0.
That's what I love about it. Yeah.
So yeah, that Mother's Day, you got me the card that said all I wanted to do was sleep with you.
Yeah. And now
It might be the best card I've ever gotten in my life.
there's a reason that's the only card I've ever given you. I set the bar so high, I'm like, well, if I ever get another card, it's got to be better than that one. I haven't found one yet. So,
at my funeral,
yes.
I need a please get well soon card tucked into my casket. So if you're not alive, anybody anybody that's listening, if you come to my funeral,
are gonna be like, why
don't
is
put flowers in my casket. I want get well soon cards in my casket. I want to be buried with them. Thank you.
Yeah, your we're going to do closed casket no matter what, and it's just going to have an envelope slit at the top, and we're going to stuff it full of get well soon
like
cards.
wedding cards. I want some gift cards in there.
And we're going to lock your coffin shut so no one steals that shit, because I know your family. You can't have like a card box out, someone will walk off with it.
That's exactly. You should have seen like the fucking like not duct tape, like extra strength, like double-sided sticky. Like you fucking had to like my dad had to pull the tape off of the roll to get it, and we fucking glued that shit down so no one walked off with my at my graduation party.
I was gonna say at our wedding it was like a bird
in a cage. No, it was in a bird cage.
Yeah.
It was well decorated and locked.
Yeah.
So
and yeah, someone would have been like, "Why are you walking off with a bird cage?"
Yeah. Hopefully, they don't have that much family listening.
Anywho, back to this episode. We've moved on past Valentine's Day, so to be funny, because we think
Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, graduation, and weddings all covered. So we have all the milestones.
Yes.
Now let's get back to the day after Valentine's Day.
St. Patrick's Day.
The day after St. Patrick's Day.
No. So Valentine's Day. So this goes back to Todd. I feel like
it does.
This is a shout out to Todd, who's we've known
also a super fan.
Yes, he gave the speech at our wedding.
He was going to marry us, but you were all like, my grandmother might hate that. So we actually found a real pastor.
Yeah, but it was the closest thing to a pastor you'd be fine with. Anyway.
Yeah, he's had stretch years and sleeves.
And he worked at the church we now go to, which is the funny part. Full circle. Woo! At one point.
Oh, yeah, but that was before Pastor
anyway,
Kyle, because he didn't like that. He didn't like
this was way before. Anyway.
Doesn't matter. Politics. Politics. My favorite.
Discussing things we know not of because we weren't around then for that. Anywho, but... Where was I going with this? Oh, Todd. Mm-hmm. His favorite thing, post-Valentine's Day, pre-Valentine's Day, anything, was Happy VD.
Spread it around.
He spread it around. Yeah, like Facebook, wherever. So we did Valentine's Day Massacre last week. So this time we're going straight to a VD, a good old venereal disease.
Which is an antiquated term.
An antiquated term?
STDs is also an antiquated
term.
It's
STIs.
Yes, it is STIs.
Yes. But... we were trying to
also antiquated. I feel like is a it needs to be brought back into the vernacular.
It's kind of highfalutin.
I don't give a shit. We taught our 3-year-old that she's famished and parched. So
I rolled my eyes at you when you said it.
Don't care.
So
I'm used to it.
If everyone listening didn't get on my level, anyway, I also live with you. But what was I even talking about?
Shout out to Todd, William Long.
Oh yeah. So anyway, we're going to a venereal disease.
Yes.
I think that was the. Then you interrupted.
Yes, I did.
Oh, no. I remember. So we were going to get my friend and boss, who is much more educated.
We don't put friend and boss because then you're starting to like skirt the line of that like. I
don't care. He's a good friend.
Fire me. You'd be fucked.
He happens to be my superior, which is fine. But
is it though?
Yeah. He has much more microbiology experience than I. So we were going to get him to put in a blurb about... about what we're going to cover. But if he does, you'll hear it now. Pause. Nope, he didn't. Okay. So now you're going to lean on me for what my microbiology explanation of said topic, which is
Trichomonas.
Trichomonas. The M comes
Trichomoniasis.
first. Trichomoniasis is a condition. Trichomonas vaginalis is the parasite.
Yes.
Okay.
Or trichomonads. That's what they used to be referred to. It's just trichomonads.
Okay.
Something like that. I don't know. I typed it a couple times and fucked up spelling it every time, so it doesn't matter.
Everybody in the biz, just kidding. Everybody in a lab calls it Trich.
Yeah, just Trich.
Yeah, because it's long. And
yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for all that. We shorten everything. Kleb, E. coli, Trich.
What's Kleb?
Kleb pneumo?
Sure.
Klebsiella pneumo. No? Okay.
Okay.
The flu, influenza.
Oh, my
God.
And that has a fancier name than influenza.
Well, anyway, we're not going down that path. Okay. Yeah.
I thought influenza was bougie enough.
I think we've learned from things like coronavirus that, like,
everybody
you can call
shortens
it COVID.
It to the Rone.
You can call it whatever you want. It's got 18 different names,
and
its full name is stupid and long because it has to be specific.
SARS-CoV, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a good, healthy slurp of your vodka drink?
It was delicious. I hope everybody heard the straw.
Metal straws and metal cups?
Yep. So, we're following Valentine's Day, VD Day, with the one of the most common STIs is trichomoniasis, which is a tiny little parasite.
Are you going to cue my blurb since
Yes.
we don't have Andy's? Okay.
Yes. So it's a tiny little parasite that gets transmitted sexually, and you can easily reinfect your partners.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you tell us exactly like what this little tiny itty bitty microscopic parasite that can live inside of your urinary tract and vaginal discharge looks like, and what it does, and like all of your little sciencey stuff.
Okay. Well, here's the deal.
Okay.
It's not a bacteria or...
No, it's a parasite.
I know. So, by nature,
It's gross.
our microbiology department doesn't really care about it. And it's super treatable. So that's always good.
It is.
It is, the correct term for it is a flagellated or flagellated, but I think it's flagellated. I've never heard it said out loud.
It has legs then, right?
Yeah. Parasitic protozoan.
Protozoan means single cell, right?
It's a single-celled organism.
Look at me go.
Right?
Really taking it back to like freshman year taxonomy class.
Yes. So it looks like a squid, essentially. It's got four flagellas that come out of the top of it, bottom of it, depending on which way it's going. The bottom, because it swims forward. It is, it's the most common STI that's non-viral. Mm-hmm. So most of your STIs are herpes,
Gonorrhea.
HIV.
The clap.
All the stuff that's a virus, essentially. That's your most common one. So this is the most common as a parasite. It's
Are there any other STIs that are parasites, or is this kind of like it? Most of it's just bacterial or viral.
Yeah, I don't know parasitic wise what all would fall under that umbrella. This is the only one that like we test for. I'm sure there is other ones.
Yeah, but not obviously
not this
known.
common.
I've heard of Trich, at
Yes,
least.
yeah. So it's highly predatory. So when we look for it, like we look for it in urine samples under microscope, it looks like literally like a hungry hippo. Like it's just cruising through urine, just eating everything in its path, which is kind of fun.
Does it make it bigger? Like every time it eats the bacteria, it like takes on slice spores and it gets bigger?
Yeah.
Oh, it really fucking does get bigger?
Okay, so it
Because
consumes...
in my head, I just expect, like, I just see like it like lining up with these like, just a line of like cells, and it's just like, and getting bigger and getting bigger. And next thing you know, it's 3 times its size.
So it consumes bacteria,
Okay.
your favorite epithelial cells,
Skin cells.
yes, and erythrocytes, which are
White blood cells.
red blood cells.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
I'm so
Leukocytes are white blood cells.
Yes, they are.
So, so it goes through and eats all of those, which are its carbohydrate sources, essentially.
I talk about that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Terrific. So then, once it gets to a certain size, it replicates by binary fission. So
Which is just splitting.
yes. So it goes from
It's asexual.
Yeah, and it's a single-celled organism. So once it gets to a certain size, it just splits, and then it just moves on, and there's more of them. And I thought the funnest fact, because I did a little bit of background research, because obviously I know enough like for my job, but I was like reading about it, and its only known hosts are humans. I had no idea.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it lives and dies by us, and it can live outside the body. I don't know if you cover that for like 2 to 3 hours aquatically, but that's it, and then it dies.
Okay.
But yeah, and it's most you did say you're going to cover that it's most commonly transferred peen to vag,
Or vag to vag.
Yeah, which whatever. I don't know logistically.
Look, we're going to talk about it.
Are we?
Yeah, we are.
Are we going to get really in depth about it? Because
Are we going to get really feminine about
are
it?
we
Yeah,
gonna
I'm going to
get,
be
like-
real fucking pissed
Are we
going to
get like flagged for inappropriate? Anyway,
No, we're not.
but yeah,
not to be a raging feminist.
So yeah, if you look for it under a microscope, get yourself a 40x microscope. It looks like
Find your stankiest friend.
so. It looks like I was going to say it looks like a white blood cell, but if you don't, it looks like a circle, and it's got a line going down the middle of it.
That's what a white blood cell looks like?
White blood cells look like circles.
Well, I knew that.
They're the ones that are bigger than the red blood cells, but
I
they're
know that
smaller than the epithelial
sickle
cells.
cell looks like a half, like a sliver moon.
So red blood cells are tiny. White blood cells are slightly bigger. Epithelial cells are significantly bigger. It's
epithelial cells are 1 micron in
anyway.
thickness. In case you give 2 shits,
So
or understand
the
even what
trick
that means.
looks like a white blood cell, kind of, with a line going down the middle that sticks out one end, and then it's got its little 4 flagella sticking out the other end,
like a squid.
and it'll be just zipping around trying to eat up. Normally, if we see them, it's in a urine that's contaminated with like a shit ton of bacteria or a ton of epithelial cells, obviously, because that's where the trick thrives.
Yes.
And
And
then-
it creates a lot of inflammation of your
And we
epithelial
let it-
lining. So
yeah, we look for it over 72 hours and give it time. You got to get like most things we do, like we'll put in like aerobic or anaerobic conditions or CO2 or whatever. But those, when we put them in a broth, we have to leave the cap untied, because if you shut it, it makes an anaerobic environment.
And it thrives in aerobic environment.
It'll kill them all off.
Oh, so it needs oxygen to thrive.
So literally we have to like just crack, like finger tight or finger loosen the vessel.
So it
like
gets
the
some air in there.
Yeah, because we don't want them to die.
Yeah, and that's the exact opposite of what I look for in my job is like the P. acnes bacteria is anaerobic, so you have to actually supply it with oxygen and it kills it.
In America, like 2% of the population or whatever is infected with it. I don't know if you go over those stats. In Africa,
2%?
In Africa, it's like 10%. But in America, it's like 2 to 3, whatever, last I saw. So we don't see it a ton, obviously. But if we do, we have to try to treat it like a fucking Tamagotchi. Mm-hmm. And we have to try to like cultivate it and like keep it alive and like move it into like different like urines to like feed it, essentially. It's a very weird, because we try to keep it alive as long as we can so we can show people. So yeah, we literally have like a little micro pet that we're like, oh, don't forget, we got to like make sure the
Do you name them too?
No, we don't.
I'm like, this one's Doug and this one's Karen.
But we do often make the inappropriate joke that tricks are for kids, because we all grew up with, was that Fruity No.
No, it's Tricks.
Oh, God. That makes way more sense now.
Literally Tricks with the rabbit.
My whole elbow smells like vodka, too. So
oh, no.
I just keep putting it in this wet spot over here.
Oh, Parents of the Year, spilling it on our child's blanket that we use for our sound dampening.
That's fine.
So that's fun.
Is it? That's my what
you could contribute to the podcast.
That's the baseline knowledge I need to do my job.
Yeah.
Like, it's either not there, which 90% of them don't have it, or if it is there, it's like,
you know how to keep it alive. It's like a dog.
No, we don't usually keep them alive for long. But
so it's like cattle going off.
If we wanted to keep them alive, we'd have to like shoot them into someone's vagina and then collect it from them in a couple weeks, because that's the best environment for them.
It is.
Yeah.
No, not just anybody's vagina. It has to be someone's unhealthy vagina.
Oh, well, that'd be a weird question to walk around the lab and ask.
Like, can we do a pH swap? Can we swab your vagina for the pH balance? That'd be really great. If it's greater than 4, then we're fine.
Yeah. But so yeah, we keep them alive as long as we can, and then when they die off, whatever. But yeah, no, if you find one, like you go like running out of the room, you're like, I got to find someone who knows micro to be like, hey, I found a trick. It's very exciting. And
the worst version of a card game.
In a not very exciting job, that's about as exciting as it gets. Like Candida albicans, which is like everyone's favorite brand of yeast. What?
I had a Candida infection.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you know how we can identify them when they grow?
How?
So most of the time on a common like sheep's blood plate, which is like the most
y'all
common,
are going to learn a lot about vaginas right now.
And about
women are really complicated.
And about my job. So sheep's blood is like the most common medium. It's the red plate you see like every bacteria ever shown on, because everything grows in it very well.
Which one smells like grapes?
Pseudomonas smells like grapes.
Okay. Which one smells like butterscotch?
Group F strep.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, but so they grow as little NH whites, which could be coag-negative staph, which like if you
they used to call Trichomonas whites. A lot of viral. It was like this big. It was like this slang term back like in the day, like in the 1800s. A lot of VD diseases were just kind of this big umbrella term, and they called them whites. Just whites.
But NH white is what is a non-hemolytic white colony, which is typically coag-negative staph, which is on like if I swabbed your face right now, it'd probably have coag-negative staph on it, because it's
everywhere. Yeah, but that's why we disinfect like crazy in the job, and like my job, because staph is on every surface.
The difference between a coag-negative staph and a Candida albicans, when you're looking at it on plates, is that Candida albicans have little feet growing off of them, so it's like almost spider webs coming off the colonies when they grow on a plate.
That's creepy.
It's because they get those crazy hyphae. Do you know what hyphae is?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway.
What is a hyphae?
So if you look at yeast under a microscope, it literally, like, they start to grow arms, like, sticking out the side of them, like these long mucoid-looking arms that come off the side of them, so you can actually see them because they get so thick coming off their colony. Anyway, so you know how you get all excited when we talk about skin? This is where I'm at. So anyway, it has been like fucking 20 minutes. Can you talk about the podcast now?
Discussing just science. I love science, so I'm like, please tell me more all this nerdy stuff.
My job.
Everybody else is like, fuck, this guy is so boring.
He's like, whoa.
No wonder he drinks.
Be like, I've listened to 80 episodes of this fucking show, and he's never been this excited about anything. You talk about yeast, and he's like on the edge of his goddamn seat. Yeah, you know what? I'm a fucking microbiologist. What do you want from me? Like, we talk about politics, and I'm like looking at the fucking walls and like thinking about dusting and shit. But you talk about bacteria, and I'm locked in. I might need another shot before this. What'd you do with my vodka?
I put it away like you told me to.
It's because I knocked over one.
Yeah,
we
you're
should have
grumpy
rotated
about
the
it.
blanket. Anywho,
So, only two. You said like 2% roughly in the U.S.
yeah.
So that's about.
Well, it's really hard to tell because everyone's asymptomatic. Like, there's not symptoms.
70%.
Yeah.
Yep. So there were about 2.6 million diagnosed cases of trich in the U.S. alone in 2018.
Okay.
So that's the only that's the closest stat to like a
Of
number
which
I
our
can have
lab
you.
contributed like 8.
Yeah. So
That's not a joke. That's like how many we see a year.
Yeah. No wonder you're excited. You're like,
I know. Don't like Candida's like once a week. Like
Yeast
once a month.
infections are really common. If I eat the wrong probiotic, my body's like, fuck you, bitch.
Generic yeast, yeah, but Candida. Anyway, but like actual Trich, like you'll go months without seeing them, and we look at like 20 a day, and you're like, God, I'm just looking at nothing because you're not gonna find it. Like 99% of the time, it's just you're just looking at urine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Also, that has a lot to do with the fact that you guys work in the prison system, and it's really hard to find trichomonas inside of men.
We get women's facilities.
Oh, yeah, I guess you do. Yeah, you do. Like, there's one up north you get, right?
We get every women's facility for 13 different states.
Oh.
Most states only have one women's facility.
That is true. It's because women are golden children. We don't do anything wrong. Anyway.
Well, they're like 1/8 of the prison population, too, so.
So, women are more likely to be carriers of trich, but like.
Because all your innards.
No.
You need some outards.
Look. We have to get it somehow.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Where the fuck do you think we get it from? Infected men.
Where do you think they got it from? Infected women.
Who got it from?
Okay, we can go around the circle all day.
So, like, to be honest, like, I think I went through a lot of research, WebMD, PubMed, actual, like, studies and shit, and, it's really difficult, apparently, to find that little, like, parasite in the samples collected from men. Because it's just in your urethra. There's not a lot to collect there where we have vaginal discharge. And also the vagina seems to be the place that they enjoy the most. So
Don't we all? Sorry.
And so
or at least half of us.
and so it's really hard to even find it in men.
Yeah.
So you have less men diagnosed with it because it's hard to find. So in my wildly unprofessional opinion, because I am not a doctor, I feel like the data might be skewed because it's harder to find in men, and then also men are less likely to experience symptoms in the first place, so they're like less likely to go get tested for this specific STI.
I don't think a lot of guys ever go to get diagnosed with any sort of like UTI.
It has to, yeah.
Let alone STI.
Yes, dude, UTIs will kill you too. Like I almost died from one. It was bad.
I'm just saying,
and it's not because I'm unclean. It's because my body's dumb.
If a guy has like a little bit of irritation when he pees, he's just going to keep peeing until it doesn't hurt anymore. Like that's
or until he dies.
Yeah, or yeah, he's gonna wait till it's unbearable or goes away.
Yeah,
he's not gonna be like, oh, I peed when I hurt this morning. I should go to the doctor.
But like women are like, man, it peed when I hurt this morning. I need to go to the doctor.
It peed when you hurt this morning?
Yes. I hurt. I woke up. I peed. Right in bed.
Oh God, that's why we have a waterbed. We don't. But imagine if we did.
It'd be full all the time.
Whoosh.
So anyway, men are less likely to experience symptoms.
We should get a waterbed for our spare bedroom. Just be like, oh, you guys want to stay the night? Surprise, motherfucker!
Welcome to 1975.
Whoosh. We got to go turn the bed on for you. It doesn't vibrate. It's just ice cold at the moment.
It is. That room is real drafty.
Right? Yeah.
So women have to get infected for something in order, like, for us to just spread it all around, like we were accused of doing back in, like, the early part of the 1900s.
Like your goddamn legs.
God, please.
That's
We're
a VD
fighting.
joke. That's a VD joke. Come on now.
So anyway, only 30% of the cases actually present symptoms, which you talked about.
That's the opposite of 70% are asymptomatic.
It is. Look at me go. Math.
Right?
I can do math.
Man, how much is asymptomatic jumped in verb usage in like the last 2 years?
Oh, just probably through the roof.
Yeah, no.
We have to make sure we hashtag asymptomatic when we
there was like
make our post.
A majority of the population that have never used that word before. Now everybody's used it.
Yeah,
at some
everybody
point.
knows what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was why it was such a huge pain in the ass when like the beauty industry.
When you go, your whole posture changes from like fine to like
collapsed.
Yeah, you're like those toys where you touch the bottom and they like plop down.
Yes. It's my frustration. I go from being proper to being like, oh my God. And so the weight of the world breaks me down a little bit when I say, ugh.
Gravity hits you like 10 meters per second.
Well, that was like sucks about like why they shut the beauty industry down for so long, but they like allowed restaurants to be open. Like, y'all are going to trust the 16-year-old who like hasn't even graduated high school yet with disinfecting tables over like people in the beauty industry that literally spend hundreds of hours training to like disinfect. I was just bitter about it. Doesn't matter. I'm not traumatized at all. I don't have PTSD from 2 years ago.
Anyway, this is going to be a 6-hour-long podcast.
It is. So if symptoms present...
This is going to go until March.
So if symptoms do present... it can take anywhere between 5 to 28. It can take anywhere between 5 to 28 days to appear.
Okay.
In some cases,
odd time period.
Yeah, it's a very wide time period. Some people it just takes even longer. So like 28 days is like the average max. Some people it takes a while. And if they do show up, those symptoms can come and go as they please. So in men, Trich...
Not a prison.
Yeah. No. So Trich... If it in men, it presents with like itching or irritation inside the peen.
Yep.
Burning after urination.
Inner itch dick's got to be terrible. I've never experienced inner itch dick, but like, what do you do about it?
Yeah, like what? You're gonna take like
fuck, stop! Don't even please don't even describe whatever's in your brain. Because, like, I'm like, if I ever have to get cathetered while I'm, like, conscious, I'm going to fucking off myself. So, like, don't do whatever's in your brain, leave it in your brain.
This is why men can't have babies.
100%.
You're like, catheter while I'm awake. Ugh. Bitch, try a C-section.
All of our stuff is out, and everything needs to continue to go out. They were designed intentionally.
So they can also experience burning after
urination. I think
urination.
I'd rather take like a stabbing in the eye than in the dick. Like, I think that's where I'm at in my life.
Oh, good. Because, well, you know the
I'm diabetic.
Swabs,
I'm probably going to get them both. But yeah,
the collective swabs for COVID.
Yeah, no,
it's a general collection swab.
I get swabs for everything. I understand the size of them.
Yeah, those swabs can go in your peen.
I understand.
Y'all are worried about like, oh my God, I had to get a COVID swab and they shoved it in my nose. Like there are people that have to get that exact swab in their dick holes.
I know.
It's awful.
We test.
I know you know. Okay. I just want the general population to know.
Yeah.
Y'all are worried about shoving that stick up your nose. Don't get an STI because it's going to go down your dick.
Yeah. Your eyes are going to water again. You might even cough. Just do a physical while you're down there, Doc.
Cough. Turn your head and cough. So, it's burning and itching inside the peen, burning after urination and ejaculation, and then a discharge from the penis. So there's not a description of what the discharge in men looks like, because why would they bother doing that? Okay. Discharge from the penis is usually unusual. So for women, it is also itching and burning and redness and soreness of your lady bits. You get discomfort during urination, and then there's also a change in your discharge, which they do go into detail here, but it's like rude and also still kind of like broad spectrum in the color description
also
of,
if you're
the
listening
discharge.
to this podcast on your lunch, I'm sorry.
How's that avocado toast?
Yeah, how's your yogurt?
So it's been described
cream of wheat. Sorry,
no.
Go about your day.
So the discharge can be anywhere from clear to white, which is like your normal coloration. You're like, oh, cool, great. Any discharge, you're like, oh shit. But it can also vary from that to yellowish and greenish, which you should get checked out.
It's just like your nose.
Yeah, and it really is. And
oh boy, I still have an infection.
My snot's still green.
Can you guys blow? Never mind.
No, we cannot blow it like our nose. That's not how vaginas work.
Yeah, they're like squirming side to side. Don't worry.
And ready? Squeeze.
Yeah. You just
The
plug one.
worst
You
kind of
plug
Kegel.
one side. No.
No.
Okay.
It's not how it works.
Okay.
Well, we see.
I'm not a doctor, so.
Also, you didn't get sex ed when you were in middle school, so this is going to be a whole new.
Thank you. This will be very enlightening.
It was enlightening for me because I feel like even though we got sex ed, I was like, "What's a Skeens gland?"
I've been around more vag cultures than your average person, so at least
I've been around more vag than your average person.
Oh my goodness!
Look at us go.
We both know how bad they can smell. Anyway.
No, it's not that bad.
The cultures?
I don't see things like that.
We'll get a culture from Arizona that's been sitting on a UPS truck for 2 days. You know how ripe that thing is when we open it?
Well, if they have Trich, probably pretty ripe.
Or anything.
Yeah. So It can vary from clear and white to yellowish and greenish. And this is the nicest description that I found from the CDC. It will quote.
Do they have a marketing team? How's
No. It will have quote an unusual fishy smell.
Oh, I'll have like an oyster mushroom vibe to it. You're telling me,
Which I still can't smell.
you can't?
No.
Oh,
We cut up those oyster smells. I was like,
oyster smells.
those oyster mushrooms like 2 days ago, and I smelled them, and I still can't smell them.
Those ones didn't smell.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
those might have been creminis too. I don't know what they were.
No, they were supposed to be oyster.
Were they oyster?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Not even a little bit. People are like, wait, you're talking about food now?
No, we're
First it was
gone.
just
Bye.
nothing about micro. Yeah, this is for the real invested folk.
Yes. So, if Trich is left untreated in both men and women, it can lead to a higher risk of getting other STIs.
Huh. Do you know what the options are for the doctor? Hold
What?
on. This just hit me. Let's all savor this moment.
Okay.
Trick or treat? See? Yeah? We should have done this in October.
Chances are they're going to treat
Yes.
because we're gonna get over we'll go over the complications.
I'm just saying, late October, we really missed an opportunity here to do this episode.
we did. Should have had a marketing team.
If anyone listening to this has their own podcast, do a Trichomonas in October. I just wrote the title for you. Actually, we might name this one Trick or Treat.
Oh, yeah. Don't steal our shit.
Hold on. Write that down in the margin.
Okay.
Trick or Treat.
I'll write it down eventually.
That'd be like, this dude spelled trick wrong. What an idiot.
So, if it's left untreated in both men or women, it can lead to a higher risk of getting other STIs like HIV. And then an active Trich infection can increase your HIV viral load as well. You're like, of course.
Yep.
You're such a nerd. So complications from the lack of treatment can lead to cervicitis, which is inflammation of the cervix.
Yep. I would have guessed that.
And then an infection of an adnexa, which is like the connecting tissue between organs.
Okay.
And also an infection of your endometrium, which is where like the baby gets its food from.
Yep.
And then other like important bits, like literally your entire
Yep.
inner organs run risk of getting infected.
Yes.
And it can also lead to pelvic inflammatory disease and abscesses. So like balls of pus, in case you were unsure what an abscess is,
Yeah.
inside of your body in your
And
abdomen.
there's 3 S's in abscess. It's a common misspelling.
It's the C that fucked me up.
No. It's the first S that fucks everyone up. I see it misspelled once a day.
See, and I thought it was spelled ABSESS, not
What?
ABS.
Get outta here.
CSS.
No, you're...
Okay, the other day, remember I was having a
most
breakdown
wrong.
because I couldn't spell scissors?
Okay.
The other day, I was like, oh my God, I know there's a C, but where is
But
it?
you're spelling abscesses. Abscesses.
Whatever. No one likes you.
Abscess.
So it can also lead...
I have an abscess.
I have an abscess.
Yes.
So it can also lead to...
It's like that Ab X Lounge. It's just the Kmart version. It's the Ab S. Sorry. I'm just rapid fire with the bad jokes tonight.
Yeah, you are.
I'm about ready for a shot break. Let's do this.
So it can also lead to an increase in infections post-hysterectomy and like any type of other wound infections are increased. It can also increase your chances of getting cervical intraepithelial neoplasia. Nailed it.
That's a quarter word.
Yep. So it's also known as cervical dysplasia. So this is when it's a condition where abnormal cells grow on the surface of your cervix. So any woman who's had an abnormal pap smear understands exactly what this is.
Okay.
So cervical dysplasia has 3 different classifications. There's CIN1, which refers to like less than 1/3. CNI2, which is 2/3, CNI3, which is 1.
Wait, is it
like
CIN
more
or
than
CNI?
CIN.
Oh, you flipped it to CNI.
Sorry. CSI.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway,
CSI.
it's the amount of abnormal growth
Yep.
that's on your cervix when they do a pap smear.
Okay.
If you reach CIN2 and CIN3, you have a higher risk of that getting turned into cervical
It's
cancer.
like grades, essentially.
Yeah. And
Okay.
and the 2 and 3 grades can potentially more often than not turn into cancer. So like if this is untreated and it excels that far, you
Yeah.
also have a higher risk of getting cervical cancer.
Mm-hmm. It's a domino effect.
Yep. And then you also have a risk of having like if you're actively with an infection when you become pregnant, you have a higher risk of premature pregnancies with babies that have low birth weights, and occasionally it can spread to the baby either as a neonatal Trich infection or as in rare cases it can just be a serious, not just be, it can be a serious respiratory infection.
Oh,
So
the trick can get in their lungs?
yeah. That's rare, but
Yeah.
it can.
I know it's super rare, like, because when, like, orally it's super rare, so I assume respiratorily it's even more rare.
Yeah. And usually it's only in cases of like babies.
Yeah.
So, which is also scary. Anything with a newborn baby, you're like, oh shit.
Well,
so,
if it comes through, like, if it's birthed through like a sea of trichomonas, it's going to end up in weird places, I imagine.
So complications in men include prostatitis, which is the swelling of your prostate gland, which can leave you with
My
pain.
prostate is so swole. That's not where you want to be swole, bro.
No. But that can also leave you with painful urination and blood in your urine and sperm. And
Blood in your sperm?
Yeah. Yeah. And it can also lead to possible bladder infection.
That's a fun discovery.
Oh my God. Could you imagine wiping with your sock and you're like, why is this red?
Gross.
It can also lead
Honey,
to...
why are you bleeding? Oh, that's from me.
It's not... What do you... I've got another 2 weeks until my period comes. So it can also lead to
Oh,
an
that's
abscess.
right. I just started.
He, not she.
Yeah.
So it can also lead to an abscess inside the prostate as well.
Okay.
And then you have epidematitis, which is a swelling of the tube that's at the back of your testicle that transports sperm. And then, so that can also lead to more blood in your urine.
Clogged pipes.
Yeah. Yes. That can also lead to blood in your urine or sperm, and then also leads to a swollen scrotum.
Terrific.
These are all complications.
Yeah.
I don't know how often they happen, but like, get your shit checked out.
Right.
It can also lead to urethral stricture disease, which is like it causes scarring along the urethra, which can cause reduced urination ability, spraying of the urination stream, a la Me, Myself, and Irene. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where he's like
1,000 years
peeing
ago.
funny and he's like, did we have sex last night? Kind of like that, where it just goes all over the
that's a
bathroom
little
walls.
different, but yeah.
Yeah. Is it? I don't have a peen. Don't tell me I don't give a shit. But it can also lead to UTIs, which can lead to bladder infections, which can then kill you. And it can also lead to infertility, which is most likely caused by a decrease in sperm motility.
Okay.
And then in very rare cases, as in like there's not even stats for it, there's just been studies done where these cases have occurred. It can lead to it's called trichomonal peritonitis, which is an inflammation of the peritoneum, which is like the silk-like membrane that lines the inner abdominal walls and covers organs in your abdomen. So it can cause a lot of like backup. There's not been a lot of people that died from it. It's literally just case studies. It happens so rarely. So if it does happen, that can lead to like burning when you pee. You may experience pain in your abdomen, low urine output, bloating, fever, nausea, thirst, fatigue, confusion, possibly sepsis, which we also know can kill you. But it's hella rare, so you're probably okay.
Yeah, and I mean, men are at a significantly lower risk for this anyway.
We're a lot, yeah. Well, lower risk / it's harder to detect it, yeah. So, more often than not, untreated trich just sticks around for a few months to years if it's left to its own devices. And while you're infected for years, you can just, unbeknownst, spread it around.
Yep.
Or you can...
Happy VD.
Yep. Or you can spread it back and forth between your partner. So, like, you can give it to them.
Tag,
they can give it to you. Yeah. Like, that's the tricky part about treating it. Like,
is that the tricky part?
Yes, that's the tricky part of treating trich is that, like, even if you are in long-term relationships, both of you have to get treated for the exact same time. It usually takes 3 to 4 weeks. You can't have sex during that entire time because you can give it to each other back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. Especially if you have like multiple partners, because then you're like, all of you have to get treated. It's a big deal. It sounds awful, but not as awful as what they used to do before they discovered the antibiotic.
We're going to get there.
You will get there. Don't worry.
Terrific.
Today it's treated with a single dose of metronidazole.
I'm not an antibiotic expert.
Okay. Something that starts with an M. And you just have to get tested repeatedly to ensure that your infection doesn't come back. So like they suggest you come in every week to get tested. So that's quite a bit better compared to what the people pre-1960s had to deal with when they sought treatment to get rid of this gross little parasite that lives inside your nether regions. So discovered in 1836 by Dr. Don while...
the old...
strip club in Jackson?
Yeah.
Yeah. So while he was examining
That was in the back of so many people's wedding photos because it was right across the street
Yes.
from like the best wedding venue.
Yes, it's classy in Jackson. So he discovered it while examining a wet mount preparation of vaginal discharge.
Okay.
I didn't know if you had any input for wet mounts.
Yeah, you take a drop of something that's under water and you put it on a slide and you put a cover slip on it, and then you can look at it.
Ooh, wow.
It's the most common way to. That's how.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's how we look at tricks now or urines. You just put a drop of it on a slide and put a cover slip on it, and then it flattens out, and you can look at it.
Talk nerdy to me.
No.
And then it was
Is that not the wet mount you were hoping for?
no. And then it was rediscovered again in 1883 by Dr. Kunstel.
Oh, did he?
Do what?
Sorry, his name.
Dr. Kunstel?
Yeah.
So he was
What kind of doctor was he?
a gynecologist.
Was he? That's a bold move, Kunsel. Like cotton. That's
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So he described the parasites and the parasites' behavior in the female urinary tract.
Okay.
And then it was rediscovered again in 1884 by Dr. Marchand, who discovered it in a male urinary tract. So it was initially decided by these three doctors that the parasite was benign, but 60 years later, like the mid-40s, it was determined that this really is a harmful little germ. And then what is essentially human experimentation in an attempt to get rid of Trich started. So according to this man named Robert Forgon, who's in
He sounds like he has conclusions.
Look, Forgon conclusions.
Sorry. Keep up with the jokes here, lady.
I got there. So in an excerpt from A History of the Trich...
At this point, I assumed his name was going to be Dr. Foreskin, but whatever. Foregon's even better.
So I found an excerpt from this book called History of the Treatment of Trichomonas. He said, quote, right at the beginning of this excerpt, this was me shouting when you were like, what's wrong? I'm like, oh my God. Feminists have been heard to say that the late entry of women into the ranks of the medical profession has meant that, left to the tender mercies of mere men, the ills to which female flesh have heir have not been given the attention that they deserve.
I will say that is some mighty flowery language.
The whole thing was very flowery.
Was it?
But also it's a very condescending way to be
Yes.
like, these bitches think because women weren't involved, we didn't give two shits
Was he
about
sitting
them.
on a throne when he said this shit
Dude,
in the
this was the
40s?
70s.
70s?
Yes.
Doesn't he sound like he's like just like speaking to his lessers?
Look, I was raging, but there was really good information in it. So
You were raging, but it was probably that time of month, so.
it was. It's not. Anyway,
For our listeners, that is a joke.
he knows my cycle.
I know that.
Why do you
she
think we don't
knows.
have more than one
I
kid?
just don't want it to, be misconceived as me being a dick.
He's an asshole in a lot of other ways.
Yeah. But I'm surrounded by feminists, so I know.
He's got to have thick
to
skin
not
or we'll
step-
come for him.
Right. Sorry, I'm going to leave that joke.
So anyway,
Just let that just fade off.
so they actually didn't take this germ seriously for 120 years after it was discovered.
Sounds like a white guy. Yep.
Exactly. And then they were like, oh, wait, this is a problem. Because they realized it was a problem for men.
Oh.
Yes. And
Sorry, is your urethra itchy?
yep. Yeah. Despite the fact they literally thought that this was just a female problem, despite the fact that they found Trich in male urine tract specimens
Yeah.
in 1884, they're still like, nope, women are the way we have to treat it in all women. There were no treatments for men. Period. Every treatment was designed for women.
Which works great until they have sex again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, or like have their periods or get pregnant, because apparently that's a time for relapse.
Relapse?
Look,
Like it's a drug addiction?
I'm not. That was the verbology that he fucking used.
You're
Don't get me
like
started.
30 seconds from an eye twitch happening.
No,
here.
seriously, I can't believe it's not
Do you
like.
need another drink yet?
I'm fine. Eventually.
Okay, me too.
Okay. Are you done now?
Yeah, I needed to get some machine gun. My laugh sounds like a machine gun when I listen back to it. I'm
it?
like, why do people listen to us? I sound like I'm like shooting someone in, not like a Tommy gun, like fucking Star Wars. It's like
Pew pew pew.
yeah, it's like yeah. I feel like fucking Woody the Woodpecker. It's the worst.
I know. I love your laugh, and
Do
I'm
you?
married to you.
Oh, my laugh is
I might
silent
be
95% of the time.
I
though.
know. When you start belly laughing, and I just hear I'm like, oh my god, he's laughing so hard right now. I love it.
I don't make a lot of noises.
No.
Like in life, like I guess I do make noises constantly, but they're not real noises. They're like my weird whatever.
Doesn't matter.
I'm just a series of sound effects and dumb quotes from 2006. It's great.
Every millennial.
We should hang out. Whoever's listening.
No one. We're cutting this all out. You want me to clap again here?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm leaving
gonna
this
clap.
in. Don't you clap.
Okay.
I'm leaving all this in.
All right.
Behind the scenes.
The treatments.
The treatments.
'Kay.
Trick or treats.
Yep.
These are the treats.
So the trick or treats. First, it was discovered shortly before WW1. World War I, for those who are just not joining us.
Yes. World War I.
That this was a disease which initially was
Is that
just...
the one Poland won? Sorry. That's a bad joke.
Oh no, it's too soon. So this was a disease that initially...
The bad part is I just picked like the first It's no. Listen.
The bad part is that I picked the one country whose population was decimated the most in World War II.
On my liked songs in my Spotify playlist is Keep It Gay from the Producers. So I listened to that today. What if, I hate the part where they're losing the war. What if Germany wins the war? You got chorus boys. Like, so that's what's going on in my head while you're saying Anyway.
I love that movie.
I have the most eclectic like songs on Spotify. It spans
You're coming
the
from
globe.
someone whose number one category, like literally my categories were like show tunes.
Okay,
And,
I understand
and then
that.
emo and alternative and metal.
Okay.
That was my like top song. And then pop rock. I was like, cool.
Okay,
that's fine.
but I'm the dude in a beard and flannel today at work who's in my
Listening
left
to
earbud.
Keep it gay, keep it gay,
Yes.
keep it gay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just a
Sorry.
Yeah,
Tone deaf.
just the I guess the weird juxtaposition of that is like, oh, that's probably not the song I thought he was listening to today at work. But anyway.
I'm a bad influence.
So yes, springtime for Hitler's in my brain while you're talking about WW1. We also named our cats after the producer characters.
He was a soldier in WW1, Hitler.
Oh, I didn't actually know that.
You didn't?
No.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of fangirling out over Hitler, so no, I don't know his whole backstory.
Yeah, he was a soldier in WW1 and it fucked him up and he almost died. Almost died.
You're still
Literally,
calling WW1 the best part.
Yes. Literally, somebody came up to him, a like soldier on the other side, remembers fucking coming up to this piece of shit with this weird ass stash because he's had that stash for fucking ever.
Has he?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if it was
fucking
like gas mask
literally
World War II.
almost fucking shot him, but they were in this like weird like no shoot dead zone thing, and so he fucking made it through WW1. And then he was like, I want to be an artist. And no one liked his art. So he was like, I'm an incel. And decided he was going to literally destroy all of Europe. And that's what happens when you have a little dick and chicks don't like you.
Yeah. I don't think that's how it happens for everyone who has little dicks.
Nah, usually they just shoot up schools.
They're just not usually as motivated as he was.
Yeah, no. Usually they're just like, this elementary
anyway,
school, fuck those kids.
I don't want to sidetrack you
Sorry.
from this hardcore tangent. But did you want to talk about Trich?
Yeah.
Also,
Let's talk about Trich.
We did talk about venereal disease last episode too, with the syphilis talk. So this is fun that we're just
Full
keeping.
circle.
Yeah, next episode, just work it in somewhere. You're gonna be like, this one we're talking about the Loch Ness monster, who may or may not have gonorrhea.
No, you can't do a deep dive on the Loch Ness because next episode's a deep dive.
Is it?
Yeah, it's 80.
Okay. Do you have a plan for it?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't, but now I do. So
We should do a shallow dive in Nessie.
we should.
I only know a shallow dive on Nessie, so I feel like your shallow dive would go farther than what little I know about.
Maybe. There's not really. It's fake. It doesn't matter. So anyway, this disease just kind of got lumped into this like catch-all phrase of like venereal disease,
Yep.
which is a defunct phrase. We don't use VD anymore. We understand the nuances of bacteria now.
I feel like I don't have a venereal. Venereal. I have a venereal.
Anyway, it could be transmitted sexually and not through something like a swimming pool. This is like when they figured out like the only way it can be transmitted is sexually. Like back then people were like, oh my God, I might get it from a toilet seat. But they were like, no, bro. only sex.
You can get MRSA through a toilet seat.
That's not an STD.
I know. I'm just saying the difference.
But it was a big deal back like in the 40s because...
Well, if they're swimming inside of you, they can swim outside of you.
Right. Well, it was also a big deal because it appalled like the practical senses of like the general public because there was a...
public swimming pools will ever exist post-COVID?
No. They barely existed before COVID.
Maybe the YMCA.
That's literally it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it appalled the practical senses of the general public because there was a large proportion of the young female population that had been infected with trich. And then they were told, no, the only way you can get it is sex. And then people are like,
these young women
they're having sex?
Where did they find the sex?
Oh, no. Which is why I have a problem when they're like, oh my God, it's a woman disease. You're like, where the fuck do you think all these young women got it from? Men who fucked some other chick who had it, who fucked some other dude who had it. Like, it works both directions. Like, you need both things to happen. It's like, how did she get pregnant? I don't know. She fucked a dude.
Do you want our
same with VD?
Do you want our low-key Bible joke for the day?
I would love a low-key Bible joke.
Were they appalled by a Peter? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Sorry, that was on the tip of my tongue the entire. Ever since you said appalled, I'm like, I wish a petered was a word because
it's a little less like offended by appalled.
Yeah.
You're a petered.
There's appalled.
Do we need
there's
the
appalled
ultimate,
and there's earmarked. So we need a petered too.
And then there's also the ultimate betrayal, which is a Judist.
Yes,
I've been a Judist.
Yeah, adjudicated. Isn't that a word? Sorry.
It is. It's all coming around.
Okay, this is going to be the longest fucking episode
I just love
ever.
playing with words. It's my favorite thing.
I mean, this is okay. This is what happens if we don't record. So that's why we started doing this podcast, because this is what our conversations sound like.
Enjoy. This is really long and we're sorry.
Yes, let's be on substances and do crazy thoughts together.
The substances are alcohol. I promise.
Yes. So you know when like
we just didn't eat very much.
You know
today.
in Wizard of Oz when they lock arms and they're like skipping down the Yellow Brick Road? I feel like that's how our conversations are.
Yes.
One of us has no heart, one of us has no brain. It's good.
We were made for each other. Yeah. We complete each other.
Yeah, we have Toto. She's sleeping on our couch right now.
On my shanket, by the way.
Yes.
She was made herself tiny and she covered her up. He covered her up and now she's stole my clothes.
Anyway,
it's only fair.
Proceed with your
clothes.
topic. Seriously.
So
February's a short month. Let's wrap it up.
So anyway, it horrified people. Where people were like, "Oh my God, these people are having sex." And then a man named Dr. Glenn Gliston.
Gliston?
Glenn Liston. Gliston.
Okay. Ear doctor? Listen.
No, a vagina doctor.
Listen, Linda.
Yeah. So he did a study and he realized that the normal pH of a vagina, which is a pH of 4, naturally creates an environment that keeps trichomonads, the actual parasites, from thriving. And so the acidity of a vagine depends on the production of lactic acid and glycogen. Or not glycogen.
Oh, I wonder if keto fucks up your pH.
Look, probably.
That's
a genuine
That's
question.
the scientific part of me going, well, if your glycogen scores get fucked up because you go on keto and you don't have any glycogen in any part of your body and you start using ketones.
Well, we know it fucks up your hormones.
Well, and ketones can be detected in urine, so obviously it's traveling through your urethra. Anyway, that's just my brain going off in
on
a
tangent.
tangent. Yes. So I'll be Googling that later.
Okay. So the acidity of a vagine depends on the lactic and acid and the glycogen. And so Dr. Liston insisted that creating an environment unsuitable for the parasite is needed to kill this thing off.
Okay.
So along with treatment, they would give women a suppository that contained a carbohydrate to rebalance their bits.
That sounds like a bad idea.
Oh, it gets worse. You think that's a bad idea?
Well, no.
Just wait.
But Trichomonas' main food source, they want carbohydrates.
Yeah, so the concept was they've depleted the carbohydrates, so in order to maintain your proper pH, they were like, we need to reinduce lactic acid and glycogen.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, why would you're giving it food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know how to kill it. Let's feed the thing.
It's 1930s.
It's asexual and it needs carbohydrates. Let's give it carbohydrates and see if it thrives or dies.
Well, the thing is that they thought that if it's creating a depleted environment. I don't know. It
Anyway,
was the 1930s.
Proceed with your story. I'm going to stop.
They fucking put lead on people's faces back then.
I'm going to try to stop interrupting.
So,
I'm going to fail.
that's not the worst part.
Oh,
Just
good.
wait. You're going to love everything that comes next. So, when an unusual discharge of any type was found, it was treated locally with all sorts of concoctions. The most popular was arsenical
Okay.
preparation. I'll give you one guess what the main ingredient is.
Arsenic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arsenio Hall. No?
So, this was supplied both as a vaginal insert or powder.
Not the way to treat anything, but okay.
Yep. So it did contain that carbohydrate that I mentioned earlier. So it was suggested that arsenical preparation be used no more than 6 vaginal inserts over the course of a week.
That's a lot.
Gets better. There were some reports that were published of some women in order to get the results that they wanted, as in like a bunch of dead tricks. They found reports of people using it upwards to 70 tablets a week of arsenic in your vagina.
Okay. That's excessive. And probably not very... Anyway.
And then some women were prescribed higher doses during pregnancy and menstruation.
What year was this?
In the 30s.
The 1930s?
1930s.
Okay, good. Science come a long way. Anyway.
And they wonder why we had all these serial killers in like the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Okay, I guess the worst...
That's not the worst.
Okay, excuse the pun here, but the tricky part of all this is that the only host that it's viable in is humans. So
the tricky part is that the only host that they've been diagnosing and thinking the problem is women, and women aren't in the medical field.
Well, that too, but it's not like you can infect a mouse with Trich and then try to treat it.
Right.
So if you want to try to treat it, you have to essentially...
do human experimentation.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think arsenic's the first step, but it's the 30s, I guess.
And arsenic was fucking used in everything. Arsenic was in like fucking green wallpaper and green dresses.
They were still...
Stupid.
I mean, they didn't have the TV sucked then, so whatever.
Yeah. So, and so there was actually a woman in 1959 in London who died from in the hospital due to an overdose from arsenic from their suppositories.
From vag arsenic?
Yep. So there were enough cases of relapse from the arsenic pills that other methods were developed, like, quote, direct application to the vagina of ultraviolet radiation.
Okay. Did they... anyway, I'm sure that apparatus was interesting looking. That's a weird shaped light bulb you got there, Doc. What do you... Whoa! Sorry. No?
Legit, they probably just had women like lay there with their legs open and just shine like a purple light at them. And they're like, this is working.
Yeah.
Which, like, to be fair, I have UV lamps in the spa. So between clients, I'll run the UV lamp. But the problem is that UVC is the reason why it works is that it destroys DNA. And so if you're literally being like, hey, spread your legs, let me shine this UVC light on you, you're literally killing human DNA, which then leads to cancer.
In all of these attempts, you can tell two things are certain. The science isn't terrible. The disregard for human kind is apparent.
Yes.
They're like, this might work.
And they only are treating women. Men are not treated. Even though they literally found cases of it in the 1880s, they're like, fuck it, we don't need to treat men.
Have you ever tried to shove a UV light up a guy's dick? It's so much harder.
They don't think men's the problem.
No.
They only think it's coming from
They got like
women.
a tiny little lightsaber. Bzzz.
Hold still. This is going to hurt. Yeah. It's the worst kind of catheter.
Why do you have a purple thermometer?
So,
the doctor he's in a cloak and he comes in, he's like, buzz. Sorry, that's just.
This is literally, I'm getting to the worst stuff. Yeah. It's worse.
Great.
So they attempted a lot of other medications like uromycin, don't know what that is. Marfiacin, still don't know what that is. Bunch of other shit. They're just
antibiotics in our erythromycin family.
So they tried them, they failed.
Yes. These
And
are all
then-
drugs you can take. They're all the penicillin derivative.
Oh, I can't have any
alternatives.
of these.
No.
Oh, they're the alternatives?
Yeah.
Okay.
Penicillin, ampicillin, that's all the shit you can't have because of your allergy. The erythromycins are much more likely you can actually take.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway,
They're a family of antibiotics.
the next thing I'm going to tell you about is these two might be worse than the arsenic. Okay.
This could be a fucking flamethrower.
Yes.
Is it?
They
They're like, let's
do.
burn the tricks.
They do. Yes. They do an electro.
This is vag palm. It's napalm for your vagina.
They do electrovulgaration, which is
Vulgaration.
electrovulgaration. So
Okay.
they're literally taking
They just
and a
swear
piece
at
of-
your vagina.
No. They cauterize it.
Ugh.
So it's literally alternating currents that's essentially like used to cut an area that immediately
Yeah.
cauterizes it so there's not as much blood.
So you melt the flesh together.
Yeah, so they did this on the Skene's ducts, which you're going to learn a lot about the vagina now.
Okay.
Skene's ducts are located on either side of the urethra, and they are used to secrete fluids to create wetness.
Okay.
And it's also thought that it's made up, it's like part of the essential parts of the female G-spot.
Okay.
And it's made out of the same material that your clitoris is made out of.
How proud is Dr. Skeen who came up with this gland?
Yeah.
He has to be like,
They didn't fucking know back in the 30s that was related to your clit. Like, they were like, nah, let's take the most
I'm just
sensitive
saying-
part of the vagina and cauterize it.
I'm just saying, the guy that's guaranteed Skeens is named after a white dude.
Of course it is.
But
he didn't realize that was also the G-spot. Let's be
I'm
honest.
just saying, he has to be so proud of his achievements. Like, if you're going to be named after a
Unaware of the fact that it's also the G-spot.
yes. If you're going to be named after a gland, be named after arguably the best gland in the entire...
And have no fucking clue what it's for.
Nope.
So much so that, like, you know, it'd be a great way to stop this bacteria or parasite. Let's cauterize the most sensitive spot.
Let's blowtorch their goodies. That
Yeah.
sounds like a great idea.
And
They
then,
just got a 9-volt battery. They're like, yeah, this is going to fix your trick issue.
and so then they also would cauterize. They would do cauterization of the erosions, which is cervix. They would
Okay.
cauterize the cervix, and then they would remove polyps. But now they realized in 1972. So this is happening in the 30s. They realized in 1972 this is actually not doing anything.
After a few decades.
Yep. And then another treatment required the vagina to be dried.
Oh, like cured meat.
Yeah. And then it was insulfated. Do you know what insulfated means?
I don't think that's like insulation like your attic.
No, I Googled it because I was like, what the fuck? They kept using it. I figured it
Sulfuric
out.
acid?
No. It means that they blow air, gas, or powder into a body cavity. Just one of those like
the plume things for a fucking for a fireplace.
yeah, a la like the George Arian like the wig powders, but with this fun little combination of argyrol, which I meant to Google and I didn't, kaolin, which is clay, and lactic acid in powder form, and they would insul.
I feel like they're mummifying your vagina at that point.
yeah, and then. After they insulflated your vagish with this powder of lactic acid, clay, and whatever the fuck argoil is, the woman was then required to insert nightly suppositories of that exact same powder into their vaginas after they douched with vinegar water.
All of that sounds so pleasant.
Gets better. They had to do that for 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, so
And then if it was recurring, they had to do it for an additional 6 weeks.
So you're essentially
every night.
You're essentially doing the whole like kindergarten volcano, like baking powder and vinegar inside your vagina, and then just having an explosion of
For a month.
this chemical reaction coming out of your. It would probably kill Trick and everything that's ever lived in there, all your normal flora, everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this shit was happening up until the fucking 60s. 1960s.
Yeah.
And so eventually there were clinical reports that were published by a group of Frenchmen in 1959.
Which one of those name was Pierre?
None of them. There was Durel, Royan, Souboulet, and Borel.
Okay.
You're welcome. I have names. So this happened in 1959 and 1960, and it was regarding the efficacy of the metronidazole, which I should have looked up how you're supposed to pronounce it. So this was taken orally. It was found to have high success rate, and after a decade of studies, found that there was very, very little to no resistance being built up to the antibiotics. So now it's super easy to catch Trich, and spread Trich, but it's also super easy to get rid of too with just a single dose.
Yep.
And now you know. Now you know all the goodies about Trich and what we had to do to get there.
About all those little goodies and your little goodies.
Yeah, and it literally took until 1960 before they were like, hey, arsenic's a bad idea.
Yeah. Here's an antibiotic.
Yep.
You take it once orally and it works.
Because arsenic is bad for everybody.
Stop blowing clay up your vagina and then rinsing it with vinegar.
It's great.
No, it's not.
I know. And now, like, when you're like, why aren't you so angry all the time? I'm like, this is why I'm so angry all the time.
I get science is hard, but
it's not that hard.
there's no way when all these dudes are coming up with these that one of them's not like, this is like brutal, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
literally, people would rather fucking just have it.
yeah.
And then that just spreads it even more because you're like, the alternative is arsenic and clay.
70% of people are like, yeah, I have it, but whatever. I don't even notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guess what? You also have E. coli. No one fucking cares.
Until it tries to kill you.
Not only if the E. coli takes the taint train from where it's not supposed to be to where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you have E. coli in both that are fine. It's if they get on the wrong train, then you got problems.
I know.
I'm just saying.
I like how you're like just real casually like, oh, unless you get E. coli in the wrong spot. Bitch, your wife almost died of that.
Okay. I'm just saying that
He's calloused.
a little gram-negative bacilli in your vag is fine. A lot of bit, less fine. A little bit, whatever. It's normal.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah,
Y'all
that's
got
trichomonas.
strep just creeping all over your vaginas anyways, and it's fine.
Yeah. It's fine.
Enterococcus everywhere. Turn a blind eye to it. That's normal. That's for reals, but it's fine.
Okay.
It's like normal genital tract flora.
Yeah. Ew. Bodies are gross. This is
This
the moral of the story.
And this is the backstory to why I poo-pooed naming our daughter Flora. Because to me, that is a very different thing than to you. You're like, Faye! I'm like, no. Me.
Bacteria.
Yes.
No. Well, it's just like when you
Do you
were
want to
like,
know what enteric flora is? It's all the stuff that's in your poop.
she is a little shithead.
Right?
So.
Speaking of Kleb, anyway. If we had a son, we could have named him Kleb. That'd have been funny.
Kleb and Flora.
Yeah, it's short for Klebsiella. Yeah. Anyway.
So sources real quick. Now that we've gone on enough.
One of the sources is me.
Yeah, one of the sources is Scott. He has a
Bachelor's in biochemistry.
Yep.
Thank you.
and
And
then
a decade experience in a lab. I
And
don't get
then-
that. I'm not published anywhere. I actually was kind
yeah, you are.
I
you
was,
are.
I was denoted in a publication while
Yeah.
in college.
So I also use the Mayo Clinic and the clevelandclinic.org for like all the basic info on diseases from like the complications. I use the CDC and their Trich the Facts brochure. I used a history that was at stanford.edu for the history of Trich. And then I used an article. Actually, I had to like sign up for it. And they were like, select your category. I was like, media. It was an emedicine.medscape.com paper titled Trichomonas Clinical Presentation by Darvin Scott Smith, and this lovely PDF excerpt from the history of the treatment of trichomoniasis that was written in 1972. And those are my sources.
What great sources you have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have 3 volumes of clinical microbiology you could have borrowed. at
We've
the lab.
literally done deep dives that were this long.
Okay, first off, we had a very lengthy drink break at the 1 hour mark because I got thirsty. And the first 8 minutes of this are horribly unusable.
Yes.
So, whatever.
Who cares?
Yeah.
If you've made it this far.
Congrats. And if you haven't, fuck off. No, I'm just kidding.
If you haven't, they're not going to listen to you telling
Your
them to
passion
fuck
for
off.
science is just non-existent. You Neanderthal. Just kidding. And if you have more questions, I'm joking. Don't ask me about micro. I only know what I have to know.
If I'm not getting paid for it, I'm not answering your questions.
Yeah, you can call the lab at 787. Just kidding. At extension 111.
Is it really?
That's Andy's extension, not mine.
So yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate
and
you.
happy VD. Go see a doctor
Yep.
in the present times.
If you smell unusually like fish,
if you douche
Go
with
to the
apple cider
clinic.
vinegar, you're doing a lot of things wrong in your life.
don't douche anything.
No.
I think we've hopefully figured out by now that's
Only
bad for
call
you.
people douches. Don't do douches.
Yeah, they're bad for you.
I do. One of my favorite thing though, with Todd was talking about what flavor douches they were, because they all
Midsummer.
they were like
and
fucking Jolly Rancher flavors.
There was
yeah.
like baby blue colored and
yes,
yellow.
yeah.
and
They're like
pink.
it's like
purple.
cherry waterfall and glacier freeze. Like, bitch, these aren't Gatorades. I don't know what the fuck. I don't want a mint douche. Anyway, cucumber water.
Yeah, anything. If anybody's telling you anything that people did in the 80s, do not do it. That's just the general cocaine, laying out in the sun, douches, anything from the 80s, don't do it. Pleated pants, nothing.
Driving T-tops with
Ugh. El Caminos, let it go.
acid wash jeans. Is
Yuck.
that the 80s?
Yes.
Was it?
And the 90s.
Mullets. We've been over those.
We have. The Kentucky waterfalls, don't do it.
Go to our archives. Seriously, 80. We're sneaking up on 80 episodes.
We are.
We're sneaking up on 5,000 downloads.
Yeah, we are.
That's crazy to think
Yep.
of. We're in here for the long game.
Yeah, we are.
Anyway, speaking of long game, this is the segue to our exit. Are you taking your contacts out?
I am.
Gross.
It's
All right.
intolerable. I can't stand it anymore.
I'm going to go dry heave while she does this. We'll see you guys later.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.
Oof, that was terrible. Thanks for listening to our terrible podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at TMSTPod.
And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us on Patreon at Tell Me Something Terrible.